Hello and welcome back to the Billy Goat Wargaming channel. It's been a while. This is in response to a question from John Watson on the RFCM forum, and also from Martin. I said I'd do an update on my run through of Peter Pig Wargaming rules. I think the last one that I looked at in the previous video was Bayonets and Ideology, possibly from 2017, 2018, something like that. But we've had a few more rules out. Now I may be missing one here that I can't quite remember, but one that was definitely missing from the first video was this, which was Longships. So let's have a look at Longships, the Wrath of the Vikings. For whatever reason I couldn't find my copy of the rules when I did that original video, which is probably a couple of years ago now, actually. Can't quite remember. But Longships Wrath of the Vikings is for raids and battles in the 9th century, and for any fan of the Bernard Cornwell The Last Kingdom set of books, I think there was 13 in all. This is basically the wargame version of what you read in every single one of those 13 books, with Saxons and Danes or Vikings battling it out either in a raid where one side is trying to plunder a village, or in a set piece battle. So, as it says here, raids and battles in the 9th century, not the 19th century, 9th century, definitely 9th century. Very nice colour painting there. I think that was either Martin or Julie, I'm not quite sure which, with a very striking black surround on it and the yellow print telling us it's Vikings, Saxons, Irish, Carolingians, which there's now... sorry about that little interruption. There's now a range of figures for Carolingians, which are missing from my collection, but hopefully in the very near future I'll have a Carolingian force. You can have Scots and Welsh. I do remember during playtesting Stuart using Irish, and I think I'm right in thinking that Irish can use war dogs, which is a very interesting little mechanic. I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit here. Yes, there we go. So instead of using berserker bases, you can use war dogs, which are treated as berserkers. I'll come to that in a minute. However, to carry on what it says on the front here, we have an elegant 2-hour game on a 5-foot by 3-foot table on a grid system, using around 120 figures in 15mm or 45 figures in 25mm. There's the usual pre-game scenario generator, point system, victory conditions, 2 to 4 players, and from 2013. I can't believe it's that long ago. And as is normal, there's a play sheet as the back cover, and you also get a free play sheet included in the rules. Spiral bound. This here is the campaign map for the pre-game sequence. So we see this as England, and then here is the coast of France, or maybe Denmark, or maybe further north, Sweden or Norway. And the idea is that both players actually start here and try to move across these various categories, getting to the point where you end the campaign having got this far. It's very similar to Regiment of Foot 2nd edition, and you'll gain various bonuses in outwards, the sea, inland, and the raid that will impact on the on-table game. So the rule book itself is close on 100 pages by the looks of it. 99 pages, but all of that isn't rules, obviously. But looking at the contents page, we've got a little bit of introduction, credits, etc. Then section A is the equipment and figures needed for the games, with the various army lists included, and the scenery that you'll need. And then we've got the raiding game, which is probably the game you'll play 4 times out of 5, I would suggest. And then the battle game, probably 1 or 2 times out of 5, maybe. With the specifics for both types of games. So it's basically 2 sets of rules in one, which is lovely. And then section D is playing the on-table game, because the rules for both games are very similar. There's just 1 or 2 specifics, but obviously you got your turn sequence, actions, movement, shooting, fighting, berserkers, which I just mentioned. A bit of an introduction there. It says here, the successful player will be the one who has a plan and is better at reacting to changing conditions. In addition, the successful player will know when to take a gamble. A good general will have a plan which is achievable, even if affected by some reversals in fortune. A bad general will expect to lose no men and fail no rolls, but fortune favours the bold. And you could almost say there, if you are a fan of the Utrecht books, that fate is inexorable. I can't quite remember the old the Danish version of that, but it's quoted quite a few times in the books. Now, a nice picture there of some painted figures by Shakespeare Studio. Obviously it's in black and white here, but if you go onto the Peter Pig website, I'm fairly sure that same image is in colour. This guy here might even be Utrecht himself, who knows. So then we get some credits. Simon, let's give him a little mention to Simon at SNA Scenics. Says here he's provided all the templates and layout bits for the table. And when we were first playtesting this game and doing the layout, then SNA Scenics came in very handy. It might have been the first game where we used SNA Scenics templates, but goodness me, I've bought a few items from him over the past years. Absolutely excellent. Just back in business this year, having had a little hiatus. In fact, I've only in the last couple of days received some desert scenery and templates ready to play some North Africa PBI, maybe some Western, but hopefully most of all for a gridded version of Patrols in the Sudan, which may be coming in the near future. So looking forward to that. Then we've got some background about the 9th century, about the name Viking coming from the language called Old Norse and means a pirate raid. So actually to go Viking is a verb. It's a doing thing as opposed to a noun, although it obviously became a noun as they became known as the Vikings. There's a little image there of using the rules with some big figures. There'll be plenty of people out there who've got Dark Age figures to play games like Saga and other 28mm skirmish rules. But why would you want to use those when you've got Peter Pig figures, which are most excellent? And a little bit of word about definition. There's the stuff that you need to play a game. There's all the usual bits that anybody who knows Peter Pig rules will be familiar with. You've got the bits about the different armies, and there's the bit about so berserker bases are bases that are part of a unit in the rules, and ordinarily would be those chaps who would probably wear not very much and charge out and throw themselves against the enemy shield wall. But for that bit of character in the Irish army, instead of using the naked berserker, you can use war dogs, and they're basically exactly the same. I think the Irish suffer because they can't have much armor and have to have a lot of levy troops. One interesting thing that is perhaps a bit different than some other Peter Pig games, I'll just see if I can find the section, and this isn't compulsory, but I think most people who I know have collected armies for Peter Pig games and collected armies for this game in particular do this, and it's how you designate the different standard types of base. So instead of having sort of veteran trained raw qualities, you've got levy, who are the worst troops, who are the men who are new to arms and have poorer motivation and ability. You've got unarmoured troops who represent the majority of a player's force, so the feared, I would imagine. And then armoured troops who, these men have helmets and probably some chainmail too, so probably the Huskarl types in that sort of traditional way of thinking about these quality and types of troops. But to easily identify those different troop types within the game, most Peter Pig rules will tend to have a standard of 3 figures per base, but in this, to represent levy troops, you use 5 figures on a base, unarmoured 4 figures on a base, and then armoured 3 figures on a base. You haven't got to do that, but again, most people that I know that have got armies for these rules follow this. And if you don't follow this, then you need some way of distinguishing between those 3 types of figures. I think between levy and armoured are fairly easily distinguishable, but armoured and unarmoured possibly not from the table distance where you're looking down from about 3 or 4 feet away, might not be quite as easily identifiable, and certainly not from the other side of the gaming table. And also you need some plunder for the Saxons or the Danes to take, so it can be locals, which can be villagers who you're going to take away into slavery, or it can be loot, which can be boxes, bags and barrels, livestock, of course, to feed the men, and then the best bit of plunder is the gift from the gods. And he says a figure which might be a princess, holy person, or a chap with a big treasure chest. Only one such gift from the god may be found in the game. It could be a holy relic. It could be the little finger of St. Cuthbert, which has been cherished down the years and maybe created visions for the men. So there you go. So I think I'm right in thinking that every army in this will be 5 units per army, and these are called the main units. Each unit can have 6 to 8 bases when the unit is initially calculated. Welsh, Scottish and Irish armies can have foot units of up to 10 bases, and there will be a mix of the levy, unarmoured and armoured type troops. One base will be the leader. You can have some skirmish units made up of just 2 bases who are there to just harass and fire some bows at the enemy, and you'll have an overall leader as the general, which would be Uhtred, I guess. So that's how the armies are made up. But again, this is a game I've played many times. I'm not sure how well this will look on the camera, but it's one of the favourites. I think at the Weymouth War Games Weekender, there's almost always a game of longships on the go. Everybody enjoys it. Don't know anybody that doesn't. You can also have a palisade. So you can have a little village with some wooden stakes around it, which makes things quite interesting. I don't actually own one of these. I do need to get one, and I shall right that wrong as soon as I can. So there you go. That's the bits about the raiding game, and then, as I said, there's the battle game. Oh, you can arrive by ships. So down the length, so it's a 5x3 table. In the normal game, if you don't arrive by ships, you arrive at a short edge. If you arrive by ships, then you arrive at a long edge and actually place some river down one side of the table, which is great fun. The battle game is a typical attacker-defender style game. Again, a little bit different in the setup. Basically, there's a row of hills across the table that the defender will sit on, as was usual for set-piece battles in this era, and then the other player is looking to attack and destroy the enemy. Various formations that you can have in the game: shield wall, swinehead, wedge, berserkers in there. I won't belabor this because I'm already 15 minutes in. I've still got a couple more sets of rules to have a look at. But that's Longships, Wrath of the Vikings, a firm favourite amongst anybody who plays Peter Pig games. Right, which one shall we look at next? I may have done this one already. I've certainly done the previous versions of it, but Pieces of 8 had a bit of a glow up, I think the kids say, in 2019. Again, another firm favourite. So this is, again, 2 games in one. You've got a sea fight style game where you're going to use ships like, I'll put this, I'm not sure how well that's going to show actually. Light is starting to fade. Let's get some light on the situation. Might be a little bit better, might be casting some shadows, but this is a Peter Pig pirate ship, or might be a warship actually, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, lovely models from Martin as usual. This is a new one I've painted up fairly recently, along with, this is definitely a large ship. You can see the two side by side there. I haven't given it a name yet. I need to name my ship. I do like to name them. But you'll probably have, I don't know, 4 or 5 ships per side to play this game. For the sea fight, there's a lovely picture of another one there. Yes, there we go. So there's a turn marker here, and that's my version of it, or in fact it's called the battle clock. And what this does, again, this is a 5 foot by 3 foot table. This moves around the perimeter of the table, and when it reaches back to its start point, that's the end of the game. Need 1 or 2 little pirate coins there, always useful. There we go, that's the fleets that you can have with the various number of ships. So there could be a defender fleet option here with 5 ships or 4 attacking ships. So one player is basically the pirate, the other is, or the what's the phrase for it, not always the pirate, not the merchant. The merchant ship is the it'll come to me in a minute, probably when I finish the video. Can't quite remember what the phrase is now. But essentially one player is the pirates, looking to attack the defenders fleet who try, if this book was the table, the merchant player tries to go from one corner to the other corner to exit off the table, and the pirate ships will come in from the side here and trying to intercept and intervene and destroy or capture the merchant ships, and it can be very, very nail biting. I wonder if that word is in here, bear with me. Privateers, that's the word I was trying to think of. So the players take the part of a commander of privateers, buccaneers, pirates, government captains or merchants. So there you go. So there's a little picture of the table. It's a bit of a small one, 5 foot by 3 foot mat, and there's an island there. I think that's the Callistra Hexon island. I've got 2 or 3 of those myself, which always look nice on the table. There you go, you can see a better picture of it there. But it is a really, it's played on hexagons, very similar to Hammering Iron. A really fun, engaging game. No 2 games are the same actually, because just of the vagaries of how things work on the table. There's a system of what is called tricks. So both sides can, page 21, let's just have a quick look at that, which is a nice little addition, adds a little bit of flavour to the game. So it was common for foes to be tricked. Pirates might be tricked by merchant ships, and conversely, merchant ships might be, tricked by pirate ships. So it can be including misidentification of ships in terms of nationality and intent. Other tricks might include misrepresentation of ship status. So there could be hidden fighting crew, hidden loyalty, the size of the enemy ship not recognised, hidden shallows. So you might actually run aground, because a lot of these actions would have taken relatively close to the coastline. Looks like a merchant, but is in fact a warship. Merchant with extra armament. Difficult word to say. And training to repel boarders, because there's boarding of enemy ships, which is a lovely mechanism where you need to first of all get hold of the other ship, latch onto it, and then fight, have the two crews fighting. Obviously ships can get set on fire, all that sort of exciting stuff. There's an example of where the merchant player is trying to exit. It's these various squares, or sorry, hexes at the edge of the table. So lovely game. And then we have the land raid, and this is super fun, and it's super quick actually as well. So this is actually played, or recommended to be played, on a table just 3 foot by 2 foot, and you'll have one player as the raiding pirates. The other player will be the people within a town with some local government garrison in there to help them. And basically the pirates, they go, it's played on this sort of table here. Now let me just show you this, because I've always been very jealous of this. So this is the map from Tiny War Games. I think they're called Big War Games now. We won't talk about them. We're going to be banned from this channel from now on. So there's a couple, you might be able to just see a couple of pirate ships there that are roughly in scale with the figures. They belong to Stuart. I've never been able to find them. I think they're old toys actually, that he's adapted and used, but they look lovely just sat on the edge of the table. You've got the dockyard area here, and then there are buildings for the town that the pirates are going to raid, and they're going to move around the squares, square-based game obviously, raiding the various buildings and trying to get away with the plunder before the alarm is raised and the government troops come out with the muskets, or the locals rise up against them. That's a better picture. Let's use that there. There you go. Try and avoid the shine. These are the cardboard buildings that Martin provided, and I think are still free to download off the Peter Pig website. But and these painted buildings are actually from Martin's Spanish Civil War collection. But there is a dedicated set of buildings now that you can buy from Peter Pig, which are lovely and are authentic for the Caribbean, at the time that we're talking, which is sort of late 16th, early or 17th, early 18th century, in fact. So there's a typical size of force for the attackers that will be jumping ashore and looking to raid, and some defenders forces here as well. There's lots of shenanigans that can go on. Some events here where you might get new attacker bases or a new officer. It's a really quick game. You probably can finish a game of this in 45 minutes with 2 players who know what they're doing. In fact, there is buildings that can be photocopied, printed onto card and coloured in, so you don't need to spend any money, but I would recommend you spending money. And then finally, there's the campaign. So book 3 is the campaign. So again, this is something that could probably be played out in a long evening or a day at the club. A very simple campaign system. There's an example map, and there are other maps on the Peter Pig website, one of which my daughter drew, which I was very proud of. So basically, you sail around the map, trying to make contact with the enemy or make landfall and decide if there's going to be a land raid or a sea fight, and you'll play out the game. I've got a little mention there, that's nice. Me, the Northern Rover, Sean Clark. Thank you very much for that, Martin. So yes, I think this is the 3rd version of Pieces of 8, but lovely, really, really good. Okay, let's have a look what's next. Let's go with, in year of publication, we'll go with Fighting for Mexico. Now, hands up who knew anything about or knows anything about wargaming the Mexican Revolution, or indeed when the Mexican Revolution was, who was involved and what it was about. But let me assure you, this is an absolutely fascinating period to wargame, and Peter Pig have bitten the bullet and produced a full range of figures and an absolutely stonking set of rules for it. So Fighting for Mexico, wargaming Mexican Revolution battles 1910 to 1920. Spoiler alert, everybody dies, by the RFCM 2022. Lovely evocative cover there. So probably very similar to the Bayonets and Ideology set of rules in the type of armies that you build for this, and how many figures you're going to need and how the gameplay is. So a lot of similarities in the mechanisms, but lots of specifics as well to make this feel like Mexico. So we've got a little bit of the history of what went on. Causes of the war: heavy-handed treatment by Porfirio Diaz, who was the president of Mexico at that time, of the peasants, and favoritism towards the wealthy caused the commencement of the conflict. And that's a fairly typical story from revolution and civil war throughout history. Corruption, greed, and denial of rights, usual stuff. Fighting concerning peasants and their livelihoods. European Marxist struggles in the cities, and the war. The governments come and go, leaders rise up, leaders die, everyone dies. Mexicans call it the Civil War rather than the Mexican Revolution. So this is the era of Pancho Villa and Emiliano Zapata. Is it Emiliano or Emilio? I keep wanting to say Emilio Estevez. Obviously that isn't right. But anyway, a potted history there of the war, with the various changes in government throughout it, ending up with Pancho Villa getting ambushed and killed in 1920. Zapata was assassinated in 1918. Two very colourful characters, and still celebrated to this day in Mexico, actually. So game principles here. So again, we're on a grid, and units represent around about 360 men, so a regiment of 8-foot base is about 360 men. Options to have lots of cavalry in this, as you might expect with the Villistas. Scenery again is going to be the same as all of the Peter Pig games of 12 inches by 6 inches, so there's a lot of crossover for the scenery that you may have bought for other Peter Pig rules. Bases, typically 3 figures to a base for foot, and 2 or 3 for mounted bases. You've got bomber bases, officer bases, machine guns, artillery. There's a typical sized army for a southern rebel army. So 4 units with 8 bases in each. Looks to be quite a bit of cavalry there. I think at least Yeah, 3 of those are cavalry and 1 foot. And that's a massive army there, actually, after all the additions. I've played with these figures many times down at Martin's, and I've collected huge amounts of figures and painted them up for these rules myself. So you have a railway, you have a train coming on, and it's actually got an impact on the game. Troops can arrive via a train. We have solid buildings, and I think this is the first time we have this template, scattered building template. So as usual, solid buildings, which represent probably more of a substantial urban area, have to be touching a road, but scattered buildings are low-level buildings amongst low fence walled enclosures spread out, some piles of goods, maybe the cart or tree. These are the dwellings of the poorer people. They don't have to be roads, these will be little farms scattered around the table. We've got the asset system, again similar to Spanish Civil War, with shock, assault, defences, extra ammo, sneak moves. Again, would be very familiar to most people. Got trains. Martin actually has provided a cutout, a cardboard representation of a train for those who don't own a train, but obviously it's lovely to buy the Peter Pig train and get that painted up. Let's just find the armies. Yeah, there they go, towards the back. So we've got the building the army rules here, which again will be very familiar. We've got government army, first half of the war. So this is under probably Obregon, the general, but then we have government army second half, which represents the conventionists or constitutionalists when in government. So that's after one of the change of governments, and Diaz had been deposed and things were very much in chaos. We've got Southern Rebels, which is there you go, Emiliano Zapata, or one of his lieutenants would be suitable for the Southern Rebels. And you've got an example army there, which is 13 bases. First unit is 13 mounted bases, second unit 13 mounted bases, third unit 15 mounted bases, and then a foot unit of 14 bases. So lots and lots of cavalry. We've got Northern Rebels here, which is Pancho Villa's division in the north. We've got the main rebels, which is the army the conventionalists and constitutionalists, when not in government, were. We've got the US Army. Yes, you can have the US Army at Pershing. So that which is made up of full-time and National Guard units. They're well trained, but most of the soldiers had no battle experience. Spent a lot of time chasing Pancho Villa after the Columbus raid, where Pancho Villa invaded America, actually, which was a shock to them, I'm sure. Ragged Rebels, representing the Mexican resistance in Veracruz, also covers Pancho Villa's division in the north and Zapata's Southern Army when in decline, so the later part of the war. And then US Naval Force, which I've never seen used actually, but would be a very interesting force on the table. But there you go. It's the Mexican Revolution. Again, we have the play sheet as the rear cover, with an extra one provided when you buy the rules. If you're looking for something a little bit different, a little bit unusual, something you've never looked at before, I would highly recommend that. Okay, so let's go to this, Conquerors and Kings. Now this is a rewrite of a very let's call it a veteran set of rules that Peter Pig produced in the 90s, called Conquerors and Kings. Was played on a 12-inch grid, but this version has been brought up to date and is now on 6-inch grid, not on 6-inch grids. Let me strike that from the record, because each zone in the new version of Conquerors and Kings is 10 inches by 6 inches, so it's actually a rectangle. And there's a look at the table, so it's actually 5 foot by, I think, by 2.5. Yeah. But I played this at the weekend down at Entoyment. Got a couple, 2 armies painted up specifically for Conquerors and Kings using the 3x3 Peter Pig typical bases, but I've got other armies based up for the DBX style of games, DBM, DBA, that kind of thing, which are still usable because being played in a grid, base sizes don't matter. So if you've got an old DBM army or Art de la Guerre army sat doing nothing, give these rules a go. So again, very piggy in style in that you have each player brings scenery to the table. In this case, you're going to bring 3 pieces of scenery, which might be woods, villages, gentle hills, rough ground, or obstructing scenery. There's a mechanism for how that scenery is placed. Got some lovely this is one thing to note, colour set of rules, again similar to the Pirates game. You've got a German tribal army here, which I've got one of those. I've got one of these as well, which is the Imperial Roman army. Then a beautiful New Kingdom Egyptian army. I'm assuming this is Martin's own army. Not sure I've ever seen it actually, but look at all those chariots. So a unit is 3 chariots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we've got 2 generals there in chariots with the various types of support troops as well. That's a nice picture of Martin's new Macedonian cavalry as an elite unit there. We've got some veteran hyperspists and some trained troops as pikemen, and then some levy Nubians. These are all relatively new sculpts that Martin has done. So typical for ancients, we've got close order infantry, auxiliary infantry, foot skirmishers, or siloi in most of the rules, cavalry, mounted skirmishers, elephants, chariots, artillery, and generals. This is a nice little aspect of the rules called battle tactics. So each army gets access to various battle tactics that you can employ throughout the game. So let's just have a look at brace shields. Applies to a whole zone, ignores a single fight fallback or a single morale fallback or a fight win advance. So basically it will stop either a unit falling out of a zone having lost a fight, or you can stop them charging forward having won a fight, because they'd be too exposed if they moved forward, which is a lovely mechanic. Some lovely pictures here, a couple of an elephant there. Don't know who makes that. That's not Peter Pig. And the good thing for this is the army lists, of which there are dozens, is available free online. So there's no army lists in the book, but they are all free online on the Peter Pig website. So yeah, a beautifully produced book. There's a few. This will be of interest to those who find this kind of thing interesting. Is that the play sheet is in landscape, and the idea being it can sit more easily on the edge of the table rather than poking into the table in portrait mode. In landscape, there's usually a bit more room at table edge to fit this. And also, so there's one side with the turn sequence, movement, morale, shooting, etc. And you just flip over, and there you go straight into the fight. Fight outcomes, block movement, zone occupancy, that kind of thing. So very well produced and very well thought out, I think. So yeah, I played this last night actually against my mate Aid. I was Germans against his Romans, or my Romans actually, and I won. So they're obviously a very good set of rules. And there you go, there's another copy of the play sheet, which, because we're spiral bound, sits nicely like this, or like this. Very nice, great set of rules. Now then, PBI 2025 edition. So I think when these were first under development, they were labelled PBI 2020, and then COVID came along and shut down everything and delayed play testing and development, etc. So 5 years later, we have PBI RFCM 2025 edition. World War II company per player, 15mm, gridded on a 4x4 table, easy and clever D6 systems, and it's a complete game system. Now, these aren't available in physical form at the moment, just available as a PDF. I've sent this off to, I think it was Docs Direct, and got it printed off for not too much money, and got it spiral bound. The army book, which is called The Company Architect, is only available online, or sorry, as a PDF. But again, obviously, if you want to take the PDF and get it